Strap on your axe and get on stage. It's time to jump into the spotlight as we choose our top 5 guitar solos. Coming your way next.
Get ready for the 3324 podcast, where lifelong friends Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber share their love of all things music and movies. Dean has directed short films and is a music trivia buff. And Eric, trained in audio engineering, brings his extensive knowledge of music and film to the conversation as they discuss, debate, and celebrate their favorite albums, films, and much more.
Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast. Special guest. We haven't had him on in a while. I want to get right to him, Mr. Robert Prisament. How are you?
Hi, everybody. Glad to be with you again.
Last seen in our Guns N' Roses episode.
Yeah. What fun that was.
Yeah,
absolutely.
which was a lot of fun. And it's like, we haven't done a top 5 in a while. So I'm thinking, we've been talking about guitarists. I'm thinking, let's do guitar solos. And then I reached out to Robert. I said, listen, are you up for guitar solos? He's like, absolutely. Absolutely. And then of course,
more importantly, it's always great to connect with old friends, though.
Yes.
So it's great to see you, Rob.
Yep.
Welcome.
It's hard to distinguish the guitar solos from your top favorite guitarists.
Yes.
Well, that was my mindset. It's like, some of these solos you're going to equate with, so I tend not to like to go too objective with it. I always come from who I like and, So.
Exactly. Because, I may, some of the artists that I really like aren't necessarily great guitar soloists, right? They might be great musicians or great all-around instrumentalists, but may not be virtuoso, or maybe people don't like virtuoso. So you make a good point,
we'll
Robert.
Get to that more later.
Yeah, exactly. Just because they're your favorite artist, that doesn't, diminish what they do, but you may have other artists that you like their guitar solos better. So this is a fun experiment. It's a fun way to kind of look at this genre. Yeah. If we did top guitarists, it might be a different list.
It would.
Right?
And I totally agree with that. And as always, I can't wait to see what people pick. And I always like having somebody else on besides Dean and myself.
Yeah. Cause he's tired of ELO all the time. I'll give you. Listen, let me give you.
Hey, I didn't say that. I didn't say
Rob,
that.
Rob, let me put your mind at rest. There is no ELO on this list. There's no guitar.
You told me to make 5 ELO songs.
That's why, because I figured I'd have you do it. This way, I get off the hook. There is one caveat which Eric asked for, which I agreed with. He said, we don't want to go like ape shit with live recordings because that kind of skews it a little bit. And you could. Live shows are meant for that. So we were, so I did say we could choose one live recording just to kind of throw something interesting into the mix. But we're looking for stuff that was captured in the studio. Because live would be too easy, right? Because there are so many songs where they just kind of rip open the middle part of it and let people just do extended solos.
One of my choices is a mix of the two of those, actually.
Interesting.
Oh, interesting.
We shall see what that is.
Huh. A mix of the two. Okay.
I'm trying to think. I'm not sure where we're going, but
yeah, man.
So what we're going to do, here's the great thing about this is we've got the 3 of us and we're going to do, a top 5 each. Plus we've got some honorable mentions. So we're going to go ahead and make this into a Spotify playlist, which is going to be a killer playlist. And we want you to hit us up on social media. Let us know what your favorite guitar solos are. And we'll add that to this dynamic playlist that will be available to the public to check out and listen to, and you can help crowdsource it and help build it too. So this is going to be probably close to 20 killer tracks from us, and then whatever else you add in, let us know. So this is, I'm going to tell you right now, like there was 3 here, or actually 4 that were. They just rattled off. I didn't have to think too hard about them.
Me neither. I just, it's off the top of my head pretty much. And it's also actually some of them are kind of like stuck in your subconscious, but then there's also tracks that I've actually been listening to lately. So there's a few, a couple of those in there
comes
that
to the forefront.
So
Rob, did you struggle with this, or was this a slam dunk?
I actually had to narrow it down, and
I put
a couple of conditions for me.
Okay.
The solo has to touch me emotionally.
Yeah.
Where I feel it. It's not just noise in the background. It has to fit the song perfectly.
Okay.
Not just a great solo.
I'm with you. I'm with you so far. I'm with you so far.
And a solo that, even without the solo track, you can just sing it in your head the whole way through. You just know where it's going.
Those are fantastic. I don't disagree with any of those, and I probably subconsciously used those very same conditions for mine. They're all that you pretty much outlined what makes a good solo, right? It doesn't have to be fast fingers like Yngwie Malmsteen, right? You know, those can be great, but if it's all sizzle and no steak, what are you getting? So all right, let's not wait any longer then. Eric, let's kick off number 5.
Oh, I'm going first?
Of course you are.
Okay.
With the top, you always go first. What are you talking about?
Well, we could change it up once in a while.
Totally caught you off guard with that one.
You did. You absolutely did. All right.
And he's not even drinking. Is that water in that?
No,
goblet?
It's wine actually.
That's why.
Wine.
See, that explains it now.
Which I don't usually drink.
See,
it's hitting me harder than red wine does. So.
And he just outed himself. He just totally confessed. So now we understand why he wasn't prepared. So
okay.
let's kick off with number 5. What do you got for top?
All right.
5 guitar solos.
All right. So this is an artist that I've been following lately. I've been listening to a lot of Wilco. Nels Cline is the guitar player, and his first studio album with the band. He joined the band in 2004. Fantastic jazz player. He's got over 100 albums alone by himself before even joining the band. So wow. I mean, I had no idea. I thought he was a full-time member, but his first album is an album called Sky Blue Sky, and the song I picked, typically it's usually another song, which is on the jam band circuit has been like, because he goes off on this long tangent, and it's, Impossible Germany is the track. That's not the song I picked. I picked a song called Side with the Seeds. Which has a really, really great tone and just fluidity to his playing. And at the end of the song, it just really it fits the mood. It's mellow, it's almost like very much Grateful Dead-ish kind of, vibe to it. And, but by the end of it, boy, he can shred. I mean, he could, there's a little bit of that fluidity, but there's also a little bit of technique. And and he hits those notes, with purity. And I feel it. So I've been digging, his stuff a lot. I've been going back and I'm trying to dig into, there's just a lot to take in, but, I'll start with Wilco and then I'll work my way into his jazz, material. But he seems to do a lot, so so that's my first pick.
Yeah, he showed up when we saw Tedeschi Trucks, right?
Yes, he was a guest. They brought him on stage and he jammed with Derek, and that was.
Well, there you go. That's enough street cred right there. If Tedeschi Trucks is asking you,
Yeah, man.
Looking forward to hearing it.
What's that?
Looking forward to hearing the song.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Yep.
Robert, number 5. What is it?
Well, I must say that all 5 of mine are not really going to shock anybody. I didn't go for any deep cuts or guitarists that I'm friends with or anything. Number 5, I went with Sweet Child of Mine by Slash.
I knew it.
Which was many of our introductions to him.
Yeah.
And his playing throughout Guns N' Roses' career is always spot on and shoots you in the heart. He always finds the perfect notes at the perfect places of every song. Yeah. I don't know how, but he does.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. I actually had that on my list, but I had a feeling you were going to put it there. Because I think we talked about it on our Guns N' Roses episode. It's one of the, I think that song is going to go down in the pantheon of rock history. And just that solo just has, it starts off kind of gliding, and it kind of eases you into the solo, and then it just amps up. The energy just kind of amps up, and then Slash is just going apeshit by the end of it. I mean, he's just going nuts.
It starts off mimicking Axl's scream and harmonizing with it and taking off. And as you said, the first half is real thought about notes, and then he flips the pickup switch and clicks on the wah-wah pedal, and the second half of the solo is just
screaming
all over the place.
Yeah, just
I love when guitarists match the vocalists. Rush does that a lot. Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee. They,
Yeah.
Geddy Lee has that voice, and to match those notes perfectly and harmonize, that's just so
Yeah,
great.
that and the solo, and that was kind of mimicking the melody of the song. When the solo starts off, it's kind of mimicking it, and then it just takes off. He just kind of keeps upping the ante, and then that guitar is screaming by the end of that solo. It's just absolutely screaming, and then it breaks down into you get the drum break, and you get back to Axl. That's a great one because it's such a build up. And then there's the way the song, when it goes to Where Do We Go Now, like all of a sudden it's a release. All of a sudden all the instrumentation stops.
I think a lot of mine are like that.
Yeah.
A lot of solos in general kind of build up with tension and then hopefully hit the release at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are the good ones. They kind of get you, my number 5 is actually the solo. We can make a case that the solo is actually in the beginning of the song. It appears in the song too, from 1972, Reelin' in the Years by Steely Dan.
There you go.
Denny Dias absolutely plays one of the most technically difficult pieces of music in the beginning of the song. When the song starts off, it's the guitar is already ripping through a solo, a quite complex solo, much like Sweet Child of Mine. It's all this complex stuff. Then it resolves into the song starting proper, with Donald Fagen. And then you get the song, and then you get another solo afterwards. And Denny Dias, that's the thing with Steely Dan. It's Becker and Fagen like all the way, but Denny was like one of the original members. He actually started the group and recruited Becker and Fagen. And they started to use him less and he was a member, then he was kind of ancillary, and they still used him on albums, but he really wasn't a member anymore. But in 1972, he was full-fledged, and Reelin' in the Years just has that jumpy, it's just that bouncy,
it's a great intro.
It just really kind of gets, it really sets the tone. And it's almost like Steely Dan's calling card because it's on their debut album.
And as we said, I'm singing the guitar solo with my head down.
Yeah, it's a good one. So, that's my number 5. So, Eric, so now Eric, we're settling more into. Are we settling into a groove with number 4? Is this or kind of still? All right, let's hear it.
Yes and no.
Let's hear it.
You know me. I'll say this. I have actually one bona fide classic solo, and it's my favorite solo of all time.
All right.
And it's I don't think it's undisputed. So that's my number. That's going to be my number. That's going to be my number 1.
Are we going to have any the same? Any overlap? Do you think
we might? We might.
We almost did, but I had a feeling, Robert. I had a feeling that Sweet Child was going to be on there, so I'm like, let me. It gave me the opportunity to slot something else in, but I think there might be one. I think there might be one more lurking out there, but we'll see when it gets to number 1. But go ahead, Eric. All
right, my number 4 is Robert Fripp of King Crimson. He's a character. I mean, he is a chameleon. He's not really one for solos too much, because I've been listening to a lot of Crimson lately. And his stuff is more textural, more in the song itself. The entire song is a solo for him. It's like he overlays the background noise of, and it could be just that, just noise. But it's a stylized noise. But I went with Scary Monsters from Bowie.
Interesting.
Because he played on that record, and this was coming off of the Berlin trilogy, which was more artful and not, so Bowie decided to go a more commercial route in the 80s. This was the first album he was trying to do that. So Fripp has actually a bona fide solo on this record, on this song. So, I mean, again, there's just that tone to his guitar, and I love the buzz, that buzz cut sound that he has, that he can, and then it becomes really, really nice and fluid and just and soft, and he can do that within one phrase, and in this particular case, that is the case. And by the end of the song, it's so it's the song itself is not, it's not my favorite Bowie album. It's not one of his best in my opinion, but it is but Fripp's presence is there the entire song, and by the end of it, he's he takes it out, and I think he makes the song more than Bowie does. So
Fripp is almost an anti-guitar player. He's the most unassuming guy you would ever see.
He really is.
He sits down a lot when he plays. He's usually sitting, more akin to like a jazz player.
He's very much in the mode of like pushing the other musicians forward, and letting them do the lead, and he just adds the texture. Dean and I often talk about this is, we like guitar players that add that to the song, right? It serves the song or the music. So it doesn't always have to be just one solo, or, it has, you kind of stretch it out and add those layers to the music. So that's
Scary Monsters is
Scary Monsters
title track.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool. All right.
There it is.
Robert, not Robert Fripp, but Robert Prisament.
Yes. Number 4 is the aforementioned live studio crossover. Which is by Prince, the song Purple Rain.
Ooh.
Which the version we all know and love was recorded live at First Avenue in Minneapolis. It was the very first show with Wendy on guitar, the very first show with the Revolution, and the premiere of Purple Rain.
That's fantastic.
And
I didn't know that.
The interesting thing about the song, and this is great for you guys to look up on YouTube, is it in actuality, when he played it live, it was 13 minutes. It's been trimmed down a lot for the album version, which we all know and love.
Yeah.
There's a third verse to it. There's a couple of more choruses. And the guitar solo just goes on for like 7 minutes.
Wow.
And the whole live video is on YouTube. And it even shows this was cut, this was where it took up again. And it's just...
So did they sweeten it up, the live version, for the sound? Like, did they do any production enhancements, like to?
Not at all.
Or they just took the live version and had to edit it, chop it down?
They had to chop it down.
Yeah.
One of the things is the tension part of the solo, where it's going down, and you're waiting for it to resolve. He does that for like 3 minutes to where you're ready to kill yourself until it finally resolves it. You're like, finally.
Yeah, he'll do that.
Release me.
Well, one of the things to point out is, you first get into Prince, and if you're in the 80s and you're in the MTV generation, you don't really get a sense that how fantastic of a guitar player he actually is.
Well, because the sexual image, the innuendo,
right, and the electronica sound that he
took front and center stage. It was more like, wow, look, he's a very dynamic performer. He's spinning, he's dancing like James Brown, but there was this whole other thing behind him of his talent, and and very formidable. He kind of
fantastic.
It was kind of in the era of Michael Jackson, it was kind of hard for him to kind of get the credit that he deserved as a musician, because you're kind of combating with the image of Michael Jackson, and then Prince had an image also that he had to kind of put out there to get noticed.
But he was
everything was so decidedly very short, 2-minute, 3-minute songs and pop songs on MTV, and if you listen to a lot of his later stuff, he's channeling Funkadelic.
It does a lot of
groups like that. A lot of that kind of stuff is just
playing multi-instruments and everything. So
he was such a master of every instrument, and especially when you see him play guitar, that the instrument is just an appendage. He's not thinking about what he's playing. It's just there.
Channeling through.
Yeah. Comes straight through him.
All right. So Prince, Purple Rain, from the soundtrack Purple Rain.
Yes.
My number 4 is absolute pop, new wave candy. This is probably from Robert's list of the solo fitting in with the song and fitting in with the vibe, and it's another nail in my heart from Squeeze. From 1980. You would never think that one of the greatest solos is in a Squeeze song, but it's in this song, another nail in my heart. It's quick, it's new wavy, it's from Argy Bargy, which we did an episode on. And we talked about how Chris Difford would write the lyrics and Glenn Tilbrook would write the music. And the solo in this song is just so sugary sweet. There's nothing better than a catchy pop song than a catchy guitar solo. And it's so quick, it's bouncy, it's got a lot of different types of he's strumming chords in it, and he's whipping through some pretty quick soloing as well. And I was like,
yeah,
it caught me by surprise. You listen to that song and you take it for granted. It's like, oh, it's squeeze, it's jumpy, it's poppy. And then when you look at the music video, if you watch the music video, they show him playing the solo, like highlighting, like, wow, he's actually doing a lot of different technical things within this solo. And I was kind of like, wow, that's kind of neat. And then you start listening, it's like, wow, this is really just a really nice bouncy solo that fits. It doesn't overstay its welcome, so just like the song, it's in and it's out, and you almost don't realize how good of a solo it is. And I guess a good pop song does that, is you're kind of captivated by the whole thing. So another nail in my heart from Squeeze, oddly enough, or amazingly enough.
Oh, it's a great choice.
Gotta go with it.
All right.
Okay.
So my number 3.
We're running out of the world is getting the earth is getting smaller as we go on. So what do you got for number 3? Top.
Okay,
guitar
so it's
solos.
a live track.
Oh, this is your live choice.
This is my live choice.
Was Purple Rain your live choice?
I didn't know I had a live choice, but yes, it was.
Then it was. Okay.
And to me, it's almost a cheat.
Okay.
Because it is a cover.
Okay.
And he, it is Derek Trucks, and he is covering Eric Clapton.
Okay. Well,
and it's Any Day from the Layla record. But it's not Tedeschi Trucks band. It's his band before he got together with his wife and the big ensemble. This is from probably the last album that they put out as his own
was
band.
That the Derek Trucks band?
The Derek Trucks band, and it's called Road Songs. It's a live album. And I had seen them many times during this period. And I actually have to say, I miss that Derek Trucks, because he had an edge to him back then, because he was young and hungry, and the band just did everything. They improvised. They went off in all types of different directions. And this version of Any Day is killer. It's very edgier. It's raw. Mike Madison, the vocalist, he's, he gives it that rawness, that blues, like that growl. And by the end of it, Derek handles both Eric Clapton and Duane Allman's parts equally and successfully, I might add. There's 2 solos in the song per se. The middle solo, the first solo it would be Eric's solo, which is, playing on the fret. And by the end of the song, he's playing slide, and it just friggin' ends the thing with this absolutely killer solo. And it's, for a recorded live album, I'm not talking about bootlegs, which everybody seems to do today. This is an official release. It's one of the best, I think, in my humble opinion, one of the best versions of or one of the best live albums, period. Because I actually saw them during this period, which was great. So I know what that felt like. I know I was there in the audience. I was right up to the stage and seeing this, and nobody knew who he was. Yeah. And just a couple of years before, he had been touring with Clapton, playing Madison Square Garden, and so, but the Layla album was a big influence on him, and this song, he's always had it in his set list, and it's just it's actually my favorite song off of Layla, ironically, and that's that's not a coincidence. Yeah. I mean, he came in, and it's like I was glad to see this guy loves that song, so he does it in such with such skill.
Yeah, what I was going to say is that for those that don't know, that Derek Trucks is an acolyte of Clapton. He's had a couple. Doyle Bramhall and a couple of apprentices, or we call them apprentices, but Derek Trucks seems to be the most popular, the one that kind of seems to have shown the brightest out of the ones that he's kind of brought up.
I think he's
a prodigy. He was a prodigy from a child anyway. Yeah. He was a child prodigy.
That's right. That's right.
There's footage of him playing like what, 12?
12. He's playing Layla.
Yeah, like 12 years old.
With the Allman Brothers band. So there you go.
He didn't need much guidance. Clapton basically put the rubber stamp on him, said you're good to go.
And I have to say, he is probably one of the 2 guitar players that I've ever seen in my life that has actually brought me to tears. And that's a bold statement, because there's a lot of great players out there that have that ability. But I tears streaming down my face, and with solos from Midnight in Harlem and these really great tracks and he just really gets that in me, like to come out, that emotion because of his slide playing. It's so phenomenal. Yeah. Cool. So Love him.
All right.
That's my number 3.
Number 3. There it is.
So that's Eric Clapton and Derek Trucks together.
You did a double.
There's a twofer right there.
That's 2 and 1. Sorry.
It's a BOGO. It's a BOGO.
Yeah.
All right, Rob, what do you got for number 3?
Number 3 is the staple of my favorite band out there and their trademark, and Stairway to Heaven.
Stairway.
After a nice, 6-minute build up and adding of instruments all along, it just leads up to that guitar solo, and it's like, take it home, Jimmy.
Yeah.
And that he does.
Yeah, man.
It's the pinnacle. It's probably the pinnacle of, as and it's easy to say Stairway, it's overplayed, but if you actually sit and listen to it, there's some sublime stuff in there, some sublime guitar playing from Jimmy Page that is disciplined as well, from him.
I've heard many live versions of it where he does go off on different tangents, so he definitely does have that jam improv in him. But he sticks pretty much to what he put on vinyl.
Yeah, it's great to know that a song like that, which you think is so structured and so that the ability to do improv on Stairway to Heaven, that says something of Jimmy Page, that he has the ability to take it in an entirely different direction. I think is.
That was the 70s. Though. We were getting just such epic music. Like they were just like, like these artists were just like kind of going for it, like really kind of developing, and then just kind of, putting like that one song out that's just so majestic. And that one is probably the pinnacle of all rock and roll songs, is Stairway to Heaven. I mean, I don't think there's any dispute. Every year, I think since I've been alive, since WNEW in New York was in existence, it was the number one on their countdown. It was always Stairway.
Yeah,
every radio station was Stairway.
Of course, the top 500, right? The 4th of July, right?
And it's earned. It's not by reputation. It is one of those songs you can take for granted. But I think with this playlist, maybe sit down and give it a listen and listen to the different movements and the different sections. And then like Robert says, another one of those sustain and release solos that kind of builds, and then comes down, and the song kind of quiets down again. So it's another fantastic example of that.
Yep.
And it almost ends the song, except for that last little thing by Robert. It pretty much takes us home.
Yeah, it's like the last third of the of the thing. That there's that great. We keep going back to it too. That Kennedy Honors with Heart. That version of it was fantastic. It had the chorus. It
had Robert Plant in tears.
Page was in tears. I mean, they did a fantastic rendition of it as well, and very faithful to it, without going off, but really showing you how majestic that song can be, and just how powerful it is. So, all right, Robert pulled an ace out with that one. I'm going to pull my ace out, and I'm going to throw it on the table. This is one of the heavy hitters. It could easily be number 1, but it's not going to be. 25 or 6-4.
I knew it.
Chicago.
I knew you were going to go there. Great.
Terry Kath, the destroyer of solos. If you go, you can go with the studio version, which, that solo is like probably close to a minute and a half. And it's like 5 different solos in one. He just goes through different types. It's not 5 minutes of him doing one thing. That's the beauty of this song. Is it's Chicago is known for that long form stuff with the horns, and we've talked about it in the past on the Chicago episode. That Terry Kath really didn't get the recognition, but on this song he. That solo, I really kind of tore it apart. And it's got like 4 or 5 different types of solos within one solo. It's like mini solos.
All of which you're singing in your head.
It's like there's the wah. There's a part where it's just like a wah pedal, and he's just wailing on that. And then he's running through some lightning riffs and just kind of giving you all different types of looks. And then there's some live footage of that where it almost looks fake. It almost looks sped up. He's playing so fast. It's so bizarre. I'm like, that looks so weird. Because he's not even looking. He's like shaking his head up and down. It's like, how is this guy playing this?
I know. And all of this happening while those
Yeah, the
horns are
horns are
blaring.
going, and
Right, the entire they got it all together. There, oh man, what a great.
Yeah, the drummer is just in another zone. Also, I mean,
that's right.
Chicago is just full of virtuoso musicians, and then Terry Kath just absolutely kind of destroys on that song. And it's one of those songs that you take for granted. It's like dun 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 dun. It's like everyone takes that for granted. Get to that solo in the middle and kind of listen to what this guy was doing. 25 or 6 to 4, Chicago, 1970.
Dig into Terry Kath, first album, Freeform Guitar. What the hell is that? Right? That is just nothing.
They just made the statement,
just one long.
It's like here we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, check that out. Number 2. So we're going to be making a Spotify playlist. So all this stuff's going to be on there. So again, hit us up on social media. Let us know what your favorites are, so we can add it to the playlist as we go to number 2. The stakes are rising.
Okay. So number 2 is probably one of my favorite songs by a favorite band and it's Oh Well Part 1, Peter Green.
Nice.
Good Lord. You talk about what the fuck is going on in this song, man. I mean, he is just off the charts.
Yeah.
I have no idea what he's even playing. But I urge you to listen to the remastered version of Then Play On, because this song is in stereo. For the most part, it was always in mono. Here, it always sounded very, very tinny to me, which was off-putting. But this version, nice, it's warmer. You get to hear more of what he's doing, and it's just so killer. I mean, Peter Green might be one of the most underrated guitar players, and I don't think he gets enough credit either. Unfortunately,
rock and roll casualty.
Yeah, and Lindsay kind of just pretty much stole the spotlight from him. Not that, Lindsay is no slouch as a guitar player. Again, very underrated, and he doesn't appear on anybody's lists. But oh well, I mean, the original version, I love it. I always love that track. And it just, I mean, even at the end when it kind of glides into that quiet, right, that acoustic, and then it fades out, and then there's part 2. It comes back in with that stuff, and but part 1 has always been
that's the original Fleetwood Mac. So pre
the
Buckingham
bluesy,
and Nicks, they were a blues outfit with 2 guitarists, sometimes 3, actually 3, with Danny Kerwin, Jeremy Spencer, and Peter Green. So they were like just blues purists. And
I mean, even the opening riff is just so catchy. And it's just, it catches your attention right away, and it's just
he became quite unstable. The drug use kind of got the better of him. Couldn't handle the rock and roll lifestyle, and just kind of faded on it. It's kind of like Syd Barrett, not as severe as Syd Barrett with Pink Floyd, but same type of thing. Had those issues, had those problems, and receded.
Did Peter Green disappeared for nobody knew where he went.
Yeah, he was just kind of there around.
And he just went on sabbatical. He just he was touring the world. He was in India or
just living
Asia
his life,
or something like that.
Jeremy Spencer did the same thing. Jeremy Spencer, who was the second guitarist, one day he just never showed up anymore. He joined a cult in the 70s. They're looking for this guy. They're like, we have gigs to play. Where's Jeremy Spencer? And he was gone, and they found him they were in California, and he joined a cult. He said, I'm not coming back to Fleetwood Mac. So a lot of weird stories before you think the Fleetwood Mac Buckingham Nicks drama was there. Fleetwood Mac was already dealing in drama even before that with the other guitars. It was, drama was no stranger to them. If you think that,
and the kind of drama that you really care about,
it's weird
because it's mysterious. Yeah. It's you don't, it's not lovers, it was strange.
That kind of thing. There was a fake, there was a second Fleetwood Mac that was touring in the 70s with another band. So there's a lot. The story of Fleetwood Mac is bizarre enough without Buckingham and Nicks. So, all right. So, Oh Well, by the original version of Fleetwood Mac, which you can find on the album Then Play On, which is a great blues record. All right. Number 2.
Number 2 could possibly be on either of your lists. We shall see. The song itself is one of everybody's favorites, and the guitar solo itself, although it may not, it definitely fits with the song, but it stands on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And I have heard some guitarists, specifically Nuno Bettencourt, say every upcoming guitarist needs to learn this solo.
Nuno from Extreme.
Yes, he said it's imperative. This is just the definitive solo.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that is Hotel California solo.
Oh.
Of course.
Yeah. The solo itself, stands on itself. You've got two monsters there, the song and the solo.
Yeah, man.
And
you've got two guitarists, too. They're doubling each other, right? You got Don Felder and Joe Walsh just kind of going at it. And
in perfect sync.
Yeah.
Perfect harmony, tone. Oh, my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Another group at the height of their powers. Hotel California was like... it.
I would argue that probably the greatest outro guitar solo.
Okay.
I think on record, I would argue that definitely at least in the top 5 there.
Yeah.
But no, that was not on my list. I purposely did not put that on my list because it's, it's just, it's undisputed, So I like to go.
If I didn't put some of these on my list, they wouldn't be on anyone's list.
See?
They deserve to be on everyone's list.
There you go.
Somebody had to do it.
Exactly.
Damn it.
That's right.
I think we're all filling. I think we're all filling that gap. I think we're all looking at it from the same point of view, but getting a different result. Right?
Yes,
we're kind of we all have the same mindset. But when you crank it through the machinery of each one of us, we're coming up with something different, which leads to my number 2, Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits, 1978.
Great choice. Yeah. Excellent choice. I almost picked that one.
I remember when I heard this song in 1978, I was captivated.
Yeah.
It was unlike anything. I thought it was like Bob Dylan, right? They would compare any new artist that kind of had that sound would compare to Bob Dylan. They kind of compared his vocal, Knopfler's vocals to Bob Dylan. I recorded it. This was in the era of you recorded the stuff off the radio. And this was on my mixtapes like over, and it would appear like 3 times on one side. I'll just keep recording it. And Mark Knopfler even said, he goes, oh, what do you say to people that play guitar? He's like, don't listen to me because I learned myself and it's probably wrong. And he's got a very unique style of picking with the thumb.
He does.
The thumb and the finger picking. And Sultans of Swing is like a call and response. It's got him singing verses and he's got little licks in between. So he's kind of you're getting teased with this song, and then when you get to that middle, it's just beautiful. It's smooth. He's just got a great tone. It just sounds. It's there. It fits with like Rob said. It fits with the groove of the song. Because Knopfler's vocals are understated, and this solo is understated in meaning like it's almost like the guitar is an instrument and it's matching his vocal style. It's getting the job done, but it's just so nice.
He's one of the great crafts.
Yeah.
And you just said
of songwriting and vocal and guitar together. And it's not necessarily blues, that call and response thing like Dean's saying. It's like, but this in this case it's more sort of almost
highlighting. He's putting little cherries on the top of each verse.
Very much influenced by Chet Baker and players like that back in the day. They were, these really great sort of staccato type, like just picking the guitar
and the
finger
tone
picking
is
and just
different than any other solo I can think of. Yeah. It almost sounds clean.
Yeah.
And in a day,
AJ Cale also had that that same
and
sound.
In a day when it's distortion and wah-wah pedals, and he comes out with a fairly clean guitar sound, you're like,
it's nice.
I remember
you
that.
Can hear it. Yeah, it's just like no distortion, no echo, no chorus. It's just,
and that makes you play more accurate too.
Yeah, and you know what? And he's dead on. I mean, you listen to that solo, and it's just like, this is just really nice, and then it goes back to the boom, boom, like he just returns to the main riff again.
You could never get tired. of that song.
I was thinking about it. I'm
classic.
like, God, like this is such a it fits with the stuff that I like to listen to. So, I guess that was a shot. I see even the ones that you kind of. Again, like you think, oh wow, I totally forgot about that, but it's they're all like I forgot about Hotel California because I was thinking about Dire Straits. I was thinking about something else. So it's really cool. All right, we're at number 1 now. We do have some honorable mentions, which will be fun to also kind of. We'll go through those quicker. But you're saying, Eric, you're saying the number one. This is like your favorite. You said this is your favorite, right?
This is my all-time favorite guitar solo.
All-time favorite guitar solo recorded
music, classic recorded music.
Do we get a hint or no? He's gonna
care to take a guess. We did an episode.
On it.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he's the second guitar player that has ever brought me to tears.
Well, is it from the album that we did an episode on, or we just did an episode about the person?
Yes, it is.
So it's not Clapton, because that was Journeyman, and that wouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
No, I covered Clapton with any day.
I don't know. I don't know. What is it?
It's Time. David Gilmour.
Nice.
Pink Floyd.
The guitar solo in that song is the song for me. It really, it's the cherry on top. It's the icing on the cake, whatever you want to call it. The song itself is, as we pointed out in the episode, is a cautionary tale about living your life to the fullest, because time just goes by too quick. And the older I get, the more this song, the more profound this song is. And, every time I hear that solo, tears stream down my face. I don't know what it is about the solo per se. It's just the way he captures that mood, but the tone of the guitar, but then it goes off kind of spacey, and it's actually the latter part of the solo where it's like, and then you hear the vocals chiming in, the background vocals. I think it's so everything. Beautiful, man.
I think that album sets you up for. Like, I think the song.
It's the entire package, man.
The song sets you. The song. We said in that episode, you have to listen to this thing, and you can't just go put on the song time. You really need to listen to everything. So I think you're
right.
Like Pink Floyd is. They're slow rolling you, but so by the time you get to that, you're already in somewhat of an emotional state if you're kind of digesting it.
It's an experience.
And then Gilmour lays that on you, and that's what music is all about.
It's so beautiful. And a lot of people would say, oh, Comfortably Numb is like the soul. No, this is 1 minute and 45 seconds. I timed it. And I'll take this solo any day over Comfortably Numb. Not that it's not a beautiful solo, but it's long, it's extended. Yeah. But this thing is just, it hits all the right notes, and it says what it needs to say. And in my opinion, it totally makes the song, and it's from the first time I've heard it till now, I still have the same feeling.
That's great. That's great that you've never kind of outgrown it.
Never got tired of it.
Or out emotioned it. Like, that it's still.
No, the song is actually more, like I said, it's much more relatable now, and it's more profound now. It's even more than ever. So it'll never get old for me.
Time. Pink Floyd from Dark Side of the Moon. Number one.
All-time favorite recorded solo.
Wow. There it is.
He
is finally, it's taken 3 years. He's finally said that his number. I've tried to pin him down. He's dodgy on all the other episodes of, I don't put them in order, and this is not number one. I can't say what number one is. For years, I didn't know that white wine was the answer. That give him a glass of white wine, and he'll give you the number.
I'll tell you this:
he'll give you the
number
one.
Sober, it'll still nothing will change. Nothing will change. I'm not.
That's
I'm
awesome.
Not
Time by Pink Floyd. Awesome. All right, Rob, number one.
I am going to go on the flip side of Eric and say that my favorite, although I love Time, is Comfortably Numb.
Oh, see, there it is. Double whammy.
So there I am. And I have watched YouTube 100 different people play this, and they just can't get the emotion. Yeah. They can get the sound, they can get the guitar, but I'm like, something's just missing, and I don't know what it is, but no one can do it.
He's got that skill, man. I don't know what he's from another world, Gilmour, when it is playing, and it's a damn shame that him and Waters just can't get it together. And
it's Roger Waters' fault. Let's all just put that out there.
He's a miserable bastard. Let's just put it out there. But he's a brilliant lyricist, and he comes up with the concepts. Gilmour is more the music side of it, but man. They complement each other so well.
That's what you need, you need to sometimes recognize that the sum is more than the parts. Right. And that that Waters can come up with all this stuff, but having having Gilmour's voice too. He lends, having him sing those songs also and play, with time.
Yeah, he's got a great
voice.
It's
it's a whole table setting thing also. And I think that's what makes those songs work. Like Comfortably Numb and Time. Those are two great examples of it, of just kind of the whole experience, that Pink Floyd provides. That's one of the great things, is they kind of give you a whole thing to kind of chew on.
Yeah.
And you take the trip. And if they do it right, which they do most of the time, you get those emotions and you feel it because you're invested in the music. You're listening to it because there's so much to get into, and that's the beautiful thing about it. It's one of the beautiful things about music. So 2 Pink Floyds come in at number 1.
Yeah, man.
And Dean will
Who
end
would've
that
thought?
holy trinity of number 1 solos with.
Actually, it's going to be I'm using my live version card.
Okay.
And it's an artist that has already been on the list. Anybody care to guess?
Fleetwood Mac?
No. This solo
Guns N' Roses?
This solo is the destroyer of all guitar solos. It is Prince. While My Guitar Gently Weeps. At the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction of George Harrison.
Yep.
Is one of the most amazing pieces of guitar work I've ever seen in my life.
You got
it. There's no record. I don't know that we'll have it on Spotify, so we'll link to the video. These guys slow rolled Prince in such a brilliant way. If you've never seen this footage, it's Tom Petty singing. You got Jeff Lynne, you got Danny Harrison, you got that whole club. For the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, inducting George Harrison in, and they're doing While My Guitar Gently Weeps. And Mark Mann, who's a session player, was playing all the guitar stuff throughout the whole song. He's playing all the leads and playing all the licks. And there's a shadowy figure off, not in the spotlight, standing like off stage, playing guitar, playing along. And then at the end, all of a sudden, they reveal that it's Prince, and he comes out for the solos at the end, and he just destroys. This is a guitar clinic of flair, pizzazz, technicality, sound. It was everything that people, we said earlier, that took Prince for granted for. He showed in this performance. He just destroyed. I mean, he was actually falling back into the stage, and he had guys like push him back up stage. Danny Harrison is laughing hysterically. He can't believe it.
They're all digging it. And George would have loved it. George Harrison would have absolutely.
And all of his solos were fit beautifully within the framework of the song. Each time he approached a solo, it was something, he was doing something different with technique.
Yeah.
It was just a gorgeous piece of music to see. And just to see him walk out and he just laid waste. Like there's nobody and nothing anybody else could do on that stage.
And you also
absolutely
focused on his guitar solo because he wasn't singing, wasn't dancing, wasn't doing splits. He was just playing the guitar.
Yeah, and he was ripping through it.
Holy shit, he can play.
Yeah, that's. I think a lot of people were like, "Geez, Louise!" Like I didn't realize. And then at the very end,
they would have.
At the very end, you have to watch the video. At the very end, he's standing in the middle of the stage. He takes his guitar off and he throws it straight up in the air, and it doesn't come down. Rob, you have to go after we're done on this. Go to YouTube, watch it. He takes the guitar off, he throws it straight up in the air, and the guitar, and he walks off. He doesn't catch it. It doesn't fall. We don't see what happens to the guitar.
Somebody must have been.
I don't know what you have to watch it. It's the weirdest thing. But
George would have loved it.
Yeah.
Eric would have loved it if he had been
they were just having a gas. Everyone was having a gas on stage, just watching Prince just tearing beautifully constructed solos. I could watch that video over and over because it was just that. Like again, we're going to go back to what Robert said in the beginning. That was just one of those ones. It fit beautifully. Was he was doing so much. He wasn't just. It showed that he was multifaceted because he was doing different solos and approaching each phrasing, and the rest of the band is just kind of repeating those 4 or 8 bars at the end while Prince just has a field day. He just kind of, they let him just kind of go on, and they keep chugging the song along until Prince feels like he was done. And he nailed it. So that's my number 1. That's it. While My Guitar Gently Weeps from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2004 induction. So
great choices, everyone.
That's the top 5, which, is there. Let's roll through just some quick, maybe a sentence or two about some of the ones that were on the cusp that didn't make it. There are some notables that are not even on this list as well. So, Eric, what did you have for your first?
Well, my
honorable
first one
mention?
is actually quite apt. It's a call and response to what you just picked, and it's Maggot Brain by Funkadelic. So I mentioned that Prince was channeling this guy Eddie, forget his last name, but he's gone now too. But he was the guitarist for Funkadelic, and they started out as a funk band, but then of course they went psychedelic, and this thing is like a 10-minute just improv solo. It's not even you wouldn't even call it a song. It's just this long jam, and it's I could see where Prince gets that influence, is that, it's stuff like this. And if you listen to the song, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's, they use this in movies. I know Gaspar Noé did it in that pornographic movie he did, Love. There's like a threesome going on and they playing this in the background. So it's a perfect piece of music for that, for that sort of sexual tension there. But it's a great track. And you want to, smoke a joint and turn out the lights.
There it is.
There you go. Yeah,
setting the tone for you.
Yeah.
Rob, what skirted the outliers of the list and didn't make it in?
Well, my two favorite guitarists, you picked the song, but Randy Rhoads, either Crazy Train or Mr. Crowley, and Eddie Van Halen, either his Beat It or I think So This Is Love has a great solo that I.
You mean So This Is Love or When It's Love?
No, So This Is Love.
This Is Love. Okay.
Warning has a solo that I just have in my head. And I'd like to say something about two honorable mention guitarists.
Well, hang on. We're gonna go through. We're gonna go around. Hey,
okay.
Hey.
We're doing
that. He's rolling through the whole list like in one shot. There's nothing left for the rest of us.
That's what she said.
So you're saying Ozzy? So either Crazy Train or Mr. Crowley would have kind of made it on there because of Randy Rhoads.
Yeah.
For me, I'm gonna tip my hat to Rob and the hair metal bands. For some reason, Round and Round by Rat. I really like that solo. It's got that double. It's got that a la Hotel California. It's got the double solo with Warren DeMartini and Robin Crosby at the end when they're kind of trading off. It's very emblematic of that era of music. But Round and Round by Rat, I like the song and the solo is typical of the time, but I think it's a really good example. And again, and with the dual guitars, they were kind of trading off and doubling each other. I kind of dug that aesthetic. You didn't really see that too much. Most of those metal bands were just four members: a bass, guitar, drummer, and a, like the Motley Crue, Poison, model. So Rat, Round and Round by Rat, was on the outskirts of town on this list. Eric, what else you got? All right. Give us another one.
All right. So the guitarist I just mentioned, Eddie Hazel, was his name. Okay. So there you go. But my next, Instinct Blues.
Jack White. White Stripes.
Get Behind Me, Sin. We did that episode, but this song, I don't know. It's not even a real solo per se. But again, I just love the way he plays with the guitar, the fretwork on it. It's like he's just kind of like, just playing, having fun with it and just really getting in there. And it's probably one of my favorite tracks off the record because it's just, it shows his skill as a guitar player, his virtuosity, his improv nature, his artsy.
That whole album, every White Stripes album has something to that you could have chosen.
That's a great track.
Totally forgot. I love that track. Forgot about Jack White Stripes. So thank you for that, Rob. What do you got? You said you wanted to recognize a guitar player.
Yes,
go for it. What do you got?
I wanted to recognize two guitar players.
But give us one. Give us one, and then we'll go around.
Just one.
Yeah.
My favorite guitar player, melodically writing songs, is Jimmy Page. My favorite guitar player, technically, is Steve Vai, who does things that I can just watch him for hours. And I saw something on YouTube that said different types of guitar players: slide, hammering, arpeggios, this and that. And I'm like, Steve Vai is all of those.
Yeah.
But he can't write a friggin' memorable solo or song. I mean,
yeah,
he had 2 shots with David Lee Roth, one album with Whitesnake, but he hasn't.
David, hanging around with Roth didn't do him any favors because Roth was looking to reconstruct a Van Halen and out Van Halen Eddie. So it was it was good to get Steve Vai's name out there, but that album, those 2 albums that he was on didn't really do Vai any favors because he was better. He was better than the material. It was almost like he was kind of slumming. It's like the guy was overqualified for what Roth was doing. Let's put it that way. I mean, would you agree?
Yes. Yeah. But if you want a master class in guitar, just watch any live Steve Vai footage and your jaw will be hung down.
And he was the devil in Crossroads.
Yes.
Ralph Macchio beat him. That's how horrible Steve Vai is. That the Karate Kid beat Steve Vai.
Yeah.
I forgot about that movie.
This one, my next choice was actually on the list, and I took it out. And I think I want to highlight it because I think people probably don't realize what's going on in the song. The name of the song is "The End" by the Beatles, from Abbey Road, 1969. It's actually all 3 Beatles handling the solos at the end. So when that whole side 2, which is basically a medley of songs, and you've got Carry That Weight, and then it goes into the song called The End, and there's these. It sounds like a lot of disjointed solos. That's because it is, because Paul, all the 3 Beatles were trading solos on that song. Paul took the first 2 bars, George would take 2, John would take 2, and then they would circle around again. So it was all 3 Beatles kind of playing for each other. In this song, The End, which then kind of trails into that lone piano, and in the end, the love you make. But before that, all that guitar hysteria that's going on is the three Beatles playing 2 bars each and then circling back again. And I don't think a lot of people realize that it was actually all of them doing it.
That's a great
standing around
choice.
In the studio for the last time. And I understand they were just having a gas and smiling and really enjoying the experience. And just and you don't really see Paul McCartney in that mode also, but he joined in for this. This was their swan song. This was the finale. Yeah, Let It Be came out afterwards, but it was not really a Beatles album. It was recorded beforehand and stitched. Abbey Road is like the de facto last album, and this was their last recording. So The End.
That's
the end.
Great.
We'll do one more. We got a couple more. What do you got?
I got 2
All
more.
right, let's do it.
Okay, my next would be Bright Side's Life by Pat Metheny, from his debut release.
Jazz Fusion.
Yeah. And I mean, the entire thing, obviously it's instrumental. So is it are there solos on this per se?
You're skirting. Yeah, you're going a little too far now. That's an instrumental. That's why YYZ couldn't be in this list.
Well, that's the thing. It's like he does have like what would be verses. He plays the song, the melody straight, but then he goes off on tangents. And another twofer, great bass guitar solo by the great Jaco Pastorius.
Well, then there you go. Now it's allowed.
He plays on this album.
Now it's allowed. Okay.
So there it is. So the interplay between Metheny and Pastorius is just...
You had me at Jaco.
Gold.
You had me at Jaco.
Absolutely gold. Yeah, it's phenomenal. Yeah.
Rob, you got another one?
Bright Side Life.
I'm going to go talk about a guitarist again for my last minute, which is Michael Schenker, who I call him the Eric Clapton of hard rock. Because if you go back to any of the early UFO albums he was on, he's not shredding, but every note he hits is perfect and emotional. And I can't pick any one song in particular because I just love them all.
Yeah.
And he can shred, and he does shred on occasion, but he's mostly a slow hand guitarist. And an interesting thing, when I saw an interview with him about songwriting, they were saying, how do you pick a solo that's going to fit with a song? And he said, I write the opposite of everybody else. I write solos first. And then I figure, what song can I write that can fit this into it?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
That's interesting.
That's
but
great.
Listen to any Michael Schenker stuff, and it'll just leave you.
And Robert, any love for his brother Rudolph from the Scorpions?
He's a great rhythm guitarist,
He's the guy with the he's the guy with the forks on his eyes. Come on.
Yes.
Do you have a specific song in mind, Rob?
I really love the song
for the playlist.
Love to Love.
Love to Love. Okay, we'll put that in.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. What do I got? I got one, two. I got three more. How do I have three more? Anyway, let's see. I'm gonna go with Smuggler's Blues by Glenn Frey. There's some fantastic slide work on there, and I assumed it was someone else. I assumed maybe Joe Walsh guested on it. When I looked up, it was actually Glenn Frey that played the solo, and that's just a really like I love that song. For some reason, I've been listening to it a lot recently, and I've really kind of it's such a great song as a standalone. But the slide guitar work in there is really kind of tasty, a little dirty, a little nasty. And it's Glenn Frey, who's not known for, in the Eagles, he's not known for soloing. He's known for strumming the acoustic guitar and having a great voice and letting Felder and Walsh, do the heavy lifting for him. So I think Smuggler's Blues, only because it was a revelation to me that it was Glenn Frey that played the solo.
That's great. Great choice. Yeah, it's a great song.
Right. Well, let's do one more.
All right, one more?
Yeah, one more.
And I've been trying to get this done. I mean, I put it out there several times, and we have to do an episode on this album. But my last pick would be Wall of Denial, Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's my favorite Stevie Ray Vaughan song, my favorite album. I love the riff. The riff alone is killer. The way it starts off, but the soloing in this is just so fluid, and it's just so much more mature. Him coming off of his addictions and trying to go clean, and he's just reinventing himself on this record. It's a shame that when somebody starts to do that, like Hendrix, they're gone. They're taken from us way too soon. So unfortunately, but this is a phenomenal album, phenomenal song. I love, and there's several solos in this record. It just keeps going and going, And at the very end, right up to the very end, he just, I don't know where where it comes from, the energy, the mastery of the picking and the hands. It's just godlike, for somebody, to do that just throughout the entire song. And it really doesn't sound like I don't know if it's the case or not, but it just doesn't sound like a case where there's several takes or there's several parts or, they're recorded and they're, put together. This sounds like it was recorded live to me. But I could be wrong about that. But it's just such a great track.
Yeah. Another tragic loss.
Yep.
Stevie Ray Vaughan, can't go wrong.
Yep.
Stevie Ray Vaughan can't go wrong. Hey, look at that. Rob, do you have another one or?
My last choice, if I'm allowed one more.
You're allowed as many as you like. You're the guest.
Okay, well then I will take two more. I will take More Than a Feeling by Boston.
Nice.
Our Tom Scholz, who recorded it in his basement. And the last one I will take is Highway Star by Deep Purple and Richie Blackmore solo. And nice thing I saw in an interview with Richie is that he doesn't remember any of the solos he's recorded except for Smoke on the Water. He said everyone is improvised during the show. He's like, I don't know any of them by heart.
Richie Blackmore, incredible guitarist, strange guy.
Yeah.
He is just he's kind of out there now with the whole medieval. He thinks he's in, King Arthur's court. But yeah, Rich Blackmore is a fantastic guitarist.
I could have chosen a bunch of his stuff.
Yeah. I'm going to close out with a Lindsey Buckingham song. He's known as a great guitarist, but actually when you try and think of him as a soloist, there's not a lot there, honestly. There's a lot of great guitar work, but for solos, is not there. And I had to go to his third solo album, Out of the Cradle, for the song Countdown, which is a great poppy song. And it's got an outro solo, which you get to kind of, again, it fits with the stuff on that album, what that Buckingham was doing. He was playing all the instruments, doing everything himself. Countdown's a great poppy song, and it's just got a really nice soaring kind of outro solo to it. That's really nice that you don't really see him do too much. Usually he's known for his live soloing and he just kind of shreds and destroys, but on record, he's actually a little more sedate. It's not as, it's you don't really hear as much. But so Countdown by Lindsey Buckingham from 1992 from his.
I would have picked Come from Say You Will.
Yeah, that could have been one also. Like there's
that
some there. Yeah.
Killer solo.
Yep.
At the end of that song. And that surprised me because it's fast, it's furious. I never heard Lindsey play like that on record before at all.
Yeah. Normally you see that stuff in the live arena for him.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are some great ones. So that's it. That's going to be our top 5 plus. So we've given you a lot to chew on. Guitar solos, which is going to be on Spotify. And again, we encourage you to join us on social media, on Instagram or Facebook, and let us know what your favorite solos are so we can add that to this dynamic playlist that you can enjoy on Spotify. We'll have a link to this playlist in the show notes. So it will be ready at least in its original form for you. And then as we add it, that playlist will dynamically grow and we'll add to that playlist. So you can save it on Spotify and reference it anytime. Mr. Prisament, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was my pleasure.
I know you were well suited for this episode. I'm like, this is in the guy's wheel. This has to be in his wheelhouse. I
added the harder edge to it.
You did.
No, I think you were right. I think your statement in the beginning of the episode was the perfect guide for everything that happened. Everything you said was absolutely spot on for listening to solos or what we, what you look for, or what we look for. And I think most people do. People don't usually think about solos. And that's why I think it was a fun exercise to kind of pick stuff out that was really kind of nice and really, we saw some recurrences. We saw Pink Floyd twice. We saw Prince twice.
But no songs doubled up.
No songs doubled up.
No.
I thought for sure 25 or 624 was going to be the one. That was the one I was afraid of.
That was awfully close in mine.
Yeah, that was the only one I was and maybe Sultans of Swing. I thought Eric might have gone in for Sultans of Swing because
I did.
That was
definitely the one well, don't think I didn't think about 25. I mean, I just chose not to put it on there. But yeah, I came very close.
I was definitely shoveling in his backyard with
Terry
Dire
Katz.
Straits.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it for this episode of the 3324 podcast. Rob, thanks for joining us again. Open invitation whenever you want to come on. We want to do more top 5s. We've got plenty more. We haven't done drummers yet. We're kind of circling around that. That'll be a fun one to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's plenty of that stuff left. So for Eric, for Rob, this has been Dean, and we will catch you on the flip side.
You've been listening to the 3324 podcast with Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider, so please like, subscribe, and rate to become a part of the 3324 family. Your feedback is important, so make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 3324 podcast and on Twitter at 3324p to join the conversation.